Hello, my name is Jane and I'm 24 years old. 3 years ago, I got married to the most beautiful person I've ever met, Steven. He's a friendly, kind, and playful man who makes me feel amazing every day. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said of his mother, Mary, my mother-in-law. For some reason, she has always had it out for me from day one. And I understand. This is her precious son, and she doesn't want to see him get hurt. She's only interested in protecting his best interests. But I really think she goes too far sometimes. She's that kind of person. In reality, she deliberately presses your buttons and irritates you to make you look like the crazy one. I know we've all met someone like that in our lives. Unfortunately, I have to deal with this person because she's my mother-in-law. Anyway, I was raised differently. I'm the kind of person who sometimes criticizes people for their nonsense and tends not to hold back, but always for a good reason. I think that's why Steven fell in love with my personality, because I'm intensity in person and he's calmness. And as they say, opposites attract. I studied a bit of psychology, so believe me when I say I know that Mary, my mother-in-law, has bad intentions. I think our dominating personalities clash, and that's probably why she said that the first time I met her. Jane, don't you think it's time to stop eating so much? I was completely shocked, and I'm sure my mom gave me away as to how embarrassed and flushed I was. Steven was already my boyfriend at the time. Ben, my father-in-law, and Mary were at the table. Ben was too stunned to speak and lowered his head as if he were sharing my embarrassment. Steven was also feeling ashamed, but angry with his mother, and he reprimanded her appropriately. Seriously, Mom? That's a horrible thing to say. She can eat as much as she wants. Oh no, dear. I didn't mean any harm. I just wanted to take care of you. You know, I noticed that you've been gaining a lot of weight. Steven has been showing me pictures of when you were younger, and you looked much better than you do now. But I don't mean to be offensive, dear. I'm just trying to give you some advice. I did my best to keep calm because I didn't want to cause a scene, but my embarrassment quickly started to turn into irritation despite this. Because this was my first time meeting the family, and I wanted to make a lasting impression, you know? Because I absolutely adored Steven. For the first time in a long time, I held my tongue. So, situations like this grew in frequency as we got to know each other more. I really believed that the teasing would stop at some point, after she had determined that I was good for her son. But it seemed to be getting worse. I was starting to get along with my father-in-law Ben, who is the sweetest man in the world. I see where Steven gets it from. As much as I was getting closer and closer to everyone else and Steven's family, Mary seemed to be the only one who didn't like me. And for no apparent reason too. I was even introduced to Ryan, who is Steven's childhood friend. They grew up together. Ben and Mary practically considered him a second son. Even though Steven's heart was open to me and it seemed like his family welcomed me with open arms, even his family embracing me, as well as Ryan, it was only Mary who had a problem with me. I am so grateful for the love and support that I was able to identify from the vast and overwhelming majority of Steven's family. I received that love and support until the day from my wedding, where my mother-in-law, of course, tried to do something conniving to make me feel bad on my special day. She made a point to be so uncomfortable. As ridiculous as it could be, honestly, she was acting like someone so unpleasant. No, your hair should be up, just like I did on my wedding day. I appreciate your help, Mary, but I want my hair to be like this. I don't think so. You look so ugly. The bridal party was delayed, but unfortunately I was used to it, so it wasn't a surprise. She quickly tried to correct her mistake. Oh no, dear, no. I just want to say that you can look much better than you do now. And I would just like to say that I see a lot of myself in you, Jane. You are a bright young woman and, although I look much better than you at your age, I would like to say that you are on the right path. Although my father-in-law managed to get my mother-in-law to stop her relentless tricks that day, the pain and bitterness I felt remained. This was not in my nature, to remain silent and indifferent. I was losing my fireworks energy. This woman was slowly draining me and it had to stop. Well, fast forward 2 years to where today's events in the story happen. We're all sitting at the dinner table in Stephen's childhood home where his parents still live. Friday night, my mother-in-law kindly invited us, including Ryan, which means it must have been something important she wanted to tell us. Although I had my suspicions about her randomly making this dinner plan, which was later confirmed, it was a pleasant surprise at some point. The bomb dropped, and this is the beginning of what turned out to be a very confusing series of events. My mother-in-law started to draw everyone's attention. We had an important announcement to make. She took out a paper and started to read. Attention everyone. I have an announcement to make, because you all know my birthday is coming up, so I wanted you to know what I have planned for a very special day. I decided that we're going to take a trip to the Caribbean. The newspaper was a confirmation of the Caribbean trip. It looked fantastic. What? That's amazing. I've always wanted to go to the Caribbean. Oh my God, what great news. I'm so excited. I don't even know what to say. Thank you so much, Mom. Oh, actually, you're not coming. What are you talking about, dear? That wasn't part of the plan. I made some last-minute arrangements and managed to cancel her ticket before they charged extra fees. Oh, so my ticket has already been purchased. She just went ahead and canceled it. Why does this woman hate me so much? Mom, what are you talking about? Ryan and I seemed to be the only ones quiet in this whole situation, as a barrage of harsh words were exchanged back and forth. Eventually, after prodding for a decent enough excuse, Mary finally declared, Okay, fine. I'll tell you why I thought it would be best for Jane to participate in this family event. As we all know, I'm getting a little older, and I've decided that I want to focus the remaining years of my life on being close to the people I love the most. Unfortunately, Jane simply doesn't belong in that group. Wow, Mom, seriously. What's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with me. Don't you dare disrespect me. I'm just saying that, well, you know, Jane can't be considered part of our family since she's not a blood relative. Well, by that logic, Ryan shouldn't be able to go either, right? Since he's not technically a family member like you're claiming. But we all know. I have planned for a very special day. I decided that we're going on a trip to the Caribbean. The newspaper was a confirmation of the trip to the Caribbean. It looked fantastic. What? That's amazing. I've always wanted to go to the Caribbean. Oh my God. That's such great news. I'm so excited. I don't even know what to say. Thank you so much, Mom. Oh, actually, you're not coming. What are you talking about, dear? That wasn't part of the plan. I made some last-minute arrangements and managed to cancel her ticket before they charged extra fees. Oh, so my ticket was already purchased. She just went ahead and canceled it. Why does this woman hate me so much? Mom, what are you talking about? Ryan and I seemed to be the only ones quiet in this whole situation, as a flurry of harsh words were exchanged back and forth. Eventually, after poking and prodding for a decent enough excuse, Mary finally declared, Okay, fine. I'll tell you the reason why I thought it best for Jane not to participate in this family event. As we all know, I'm getting a little older, and I've decided that I want to concentrate the remaining years of my life on being close to the people I love the most. Unfortunately, Jane simply doesn't belong in that group. Wow, Mom, seriously. What's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with me. Don't you dare disrespect me. I'm just saying that, well, you know, Jane can't be considered part of our family since she's not blood related. Well, by that logic, Ryan shouldn't be able to come either, right? Since he's not technically family like you're claiming. But we all know that's absurd and he's part of the family. And since Jane and I got married, that means she's part of the family too. Well, obviously it's different, you know? He's so precious. And he's our sweet angel. He's always been here, but Jane hasn't. So that's why I'm not comfortable with her coming on the trip. And it's my birthday, so I can decide what we want. Come on, Jane, let's leave immediately. The way I firmly said, no, caught everyone's attention in the room, including my antagonist, who had been trying to suppress a smile the whole time, but at that moment wiped it off her face. Mary, you've made it clear from the beginning that you don't like me. And every day, for the past few years, I've put up with you being unbearable. Do you think everyone doesn't see how you act? Do you think we all don't realize that you act like a narcissistic little girl? You better watch how you talk to me. You're in my house and not for much longer. I'm about to leave. But not before this. I turned to my beloved husband, who was looking at his mother with angry eyes. Darling, I love you with all my heart, and I've tried to put up with this for so long. But now I see that your mother will never accept me into this family. No matter how hard I try, no matter how many times I bite my tongue, she will always have issues with me. You should go on this trip. It's crazy, but she's still your mother, and you love her, and she loves you, so you have to go. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. I then turned to my mother-in-law, who was gaping at what I just said. And as for you, unfortunately for you, I'm in love with your son. I will always be here. Even when you go to the Caribbean, you will always be thinking of me. Why? To be honest, I think you are obsessed. How dare you? I should slap you right now. I'm not done. You are obsessed with me. You are obsessed with taking me down. And I can't even imagine why, when all I did was show kindness and patience towards you, even when you didn't deserve it. But enough. You don't want me to go to the Caribbean. Fine. You don't think I'm part of the family? I will always be here as long as I breathe. I will always be here for Stephen, Ben, and even Ryan, but never for you. At that moment, I realized that I had finally silenced her. She left her mouth open, as if she was looking for something to say, anything to say, but her mind wouldn't let her. Finally, I managed to keep her quiet. I said goodbye to the rest of the family, gave my husband a kiss on the cheek, and started to leave. Let me take you home. At least. I can't let you take a taxi. Please don't worry about me. I love you and thank you so much for loving me. I'll be fine. You have a trip to discuss, okay? If you say everything will be okay, then I'll believe you. Oh, don't forget the bag, okay? I left my bag in the kitchen when I arrived. At some point, though, Mary went to the kitchen, I think to catch her breath after the whole situation. After being reprimanded like that, I would have done something similar. What do you want? Don't worry about me, dear. I'm just here to get my things. Well, be quick. I want you out of my house. I can't believe you said those things to me. With that, she left quickly. She was so full of anger that she didn't even want to see me walk out the door at that moment. I scoffed at her ridiculousness, and I grabbed my bag. When I noticed the piece of paper next to it, my eyes drifted and I noticed it was Mary's handwriting, I believe. At the time it must have been a piece of paper detailing the itinerary for the trip. Well, I was feeling a little bitter about not going. I wanted to take a look and see how much fun I was missing out on. I grabbed it and started reading the paper. Ryan, you know you've always been like a son to me, and you know I love you very much. Oh, so this is a letter to Ryan. It's strange, but I don't know. For some reason, my curious eyes started reading more and the love and care you have shown me over the years will never be forgotten. I hate to admit it, but even when it comes to my son Stephen, I feel like the shared love no longer exists. Only yours. Wait, what is she saying? She loves Ryan more than she loves Stephen? That simply couldn't be. I continued to read the letter, and with each new line I was more amazed at what I read. I simply couldn't believe it. There was so much to unpack, and even if it wasn't my place to read it. Oh, I'm so glad I did. After reading the whole letter, I started walking around the kitchen wondering what to do. And then it hit me. All the people who needed to know about the existence of this letter were all sitting in that room. If there was ever a time to act, it was now. I read the letter again, just to make sure I wasn't crazy and imagining things. And as soon as I thought, yes, it was the same thing I read the first time, I walked into the dining room. There were only 3 pairs of eyes looking at me. Jane, I'm sorry for what my wife is trying to put you through. Don't worry one bit. You'll come with us to the Caribbean while I'm around. She's just really angry right now, but don't worry, I'll convince her to change her mind. I don't know what's gotten into her recently, but don't worry. I'll make her change her mind like I said. Please don't worry about me. Like I said, I'm fine. I'm more than fine because I've found some interesting news that I need to share with everyone, especially with Stephen. Stephen and Ryan were excited. I saw the flicker of concern that passed over Stephen's face. Maybe he thought it was too much for me and that I wanted to ask for a divorce. Often when I complained about his mother to him, he agreed with me and wondered how I managed to put up with her nonsense for so long. I always told him it was because I loved him too much to let him go, and that I'd go to hell and back for him. Mary? She needed to be here for this too. Oh, did I mention before? She seems a bit scared after everything. She said she had a slight headache and wanted to treat it with a nap upstairs. She won't be down for a while. You know how she gets. I was very familiar with her clumsy ways and unnecessary routines and regimes that often bothered others. I huffed with irritation. But, this is very important. She has to be here. Okay, Jane, you can tell us and we'll inform her when she wakes up. I hesitated, considering the information I knew. I wanted to see the redness in her face from shame. I think you should go ahead and tell us, dear. Okay. And you know Stephen has anxiety. It would be bad to keep him waiting. This was true. Stephen's anxiety sometimes got very strong and I could see him starting to get restless with anticipation. No problem, it's okay. I'll show you what I found. When I was in the kitchen grabbing my bag and getting ready to leave, I found something interesting that I think you all need to know. I picked up the paper I found and started to read. It said, "Dear Ryan, you know you've always been like a son to me, and you know I love you very much." Oh, so this is a letter for Ryan. It's weird, but I don't know. For some reason, my curious eyes started reading more and, "The love and care you've shown me over the years will never be forgotten. I hate to admit it, but even when it comes to my son Stephen, I feel like the shared love no longer exists. Only yours." Wait, what is she saying? She loves Ryan more than she loves Stephen? This just couldn't be. I continued reading the letter, and with each new line I was more amazed at what I read. I simply couldn't believe it. There was so much to unpack, and even though it wasn't my place to read this, I'm so glad I did. After reading the whole letter, I started walking around the kitchen wondering what to do. And then it hit me. All the people who needed to know about the existence of this letter were all sitting in that room. If there ever was a time to act, it was now. I reread the letter one more time, just to make sure I wasn't crazy and imagining things. And as I thought, yes, it was the same thing I read the first time, I walked into the dining room. There were only 3 pairs of eyes looking at me. A son for me, and he knows how much I love him, and the love and care you have shown me all these years will never be forgotten. I hate to admit it, but even when it comes to my son Stephen, I feel like the love we once shared is no longer there. Only yours. What? What is she saying? What is this? I continued reading. I just don't agree with him like we used to. And honestly, I think it's because of Jane. Since he married that girl, he has no more time for me. He doesn't love me, and therefore I think I don't love him. I love you, and you are my son. That being said, I want to let you know that I am going to update everything so that you inherit all my belongings, not Steven. I know it may hurt him, but honestly, at this point I don't care. It's that miserable girl Jane. She's the one who poisoned my love for him. I hope you have received this letter well. The reason why I didn't want to approach you personally is that, and it pains me to admit it, I couldn't risk seeing the rejection in your face. I know you love Steven as if he were your brother and probably won't approve, but I don't care. I am giving you everything. The money, the house, the cars, and even my small businesses are all yours, whether you like it or not. If you want to talk more about this, please call me, and we can discuss it. I am looking forward to hearing your response. I will love you forever and ever, your second mother. I finally looked up from reading the letter and was met with a wave of confusing emotions. Ben looked like he was about to cry, Ryan looked stunned, but Steven looked like he was about to kill someone. I can't believe she said all these things. Is she serious now? So, the reason why she's doing all this is because of Jane. She hates Jane so much that she didn't include me in her own flesh and blood just to spite me and Jane. She's officially gone mad, guys. I don't even know what to say. This has gone too far. I'm fed up with this woman and her toxic behavior. What are we going to do? At that moment, I had an idea. A week had passed and it was time for the designated trip to the Caribbean. Mary woke up and found a letter from her husband on her bedside table. It said, "Good morning, beautiful. We decided to let you rest a bit more. Don't worry, your bags are already packed. Just meet us at the airport." Mary then got ready and went to the airport, frantically looking for the people she was supposed to go on this birthday trip with. She tried to call them, but not everyone answered. She assumed they were already on the plane and therefore couldn't answer her calls. She ran frantically and boarded her flight, hoping to just meet them as soon as they landed in the Caribbean. She endured the hours-long flight, and as soon as she landed, she called Ben. "Hello? Ben, where the hell are you guys? I woke up late and saw your note, which was a cute idea if I hadn't woken up so late. I got to the airport and tried to call you, but none of you answered. I just assumed you were already on your way, but that doesn't matter now because we're in the Caribbean. How wonderful! Tell me where you are. Let the festivities begin." "That's not going to happen, Mary." "What? What do you mean?" "Tell me where you are." "I'm at home." "What?" "You heard me. I'm at home. We're all at home. Say hi to everyone." Ben opened his phone to show that everyone, Ryan, Steven, and I were all in his house, sitting at the same dining table where we all heard the tragic news from the previous week. "What do you mean? Why are you at home?" "Well, Mary, Jane brought some interesting information to our attention a week ago, and since then, we've decided that we'd rather spend our time in our old town with her than anywhere else with you." Mary choked. "Don't treat me like a baby. You were really going to cut me out of the will, Mom. I hope... How did you find out?" "Oh, that miserable girl you hate so much. Jane found your stupid letter in the kitchen. I don't know what you're talking about." Mary, lying now, is just adding more nails to the coffin. "Ryan, honey, tell them they have to believe me. I'm not doing that." We all read the letter. "Mary, the show is over. But I didn't do anything. Jane is making it all up." Am I? You're so pathetic. Actually, it makes me sick. We all know what you said and what you tried to do. Thank God I was nosy enough to read it all. Steven, Ben, please. No, Mary, enough is enough. You can't say anything else. You ruined everything. Your hatred made you blind. Now you have to suffer the consequences of being alone on your birthday because of what you did. I hope you can use this time in the Caribbean to reflect on your actions. But I'll be alone. It won't be fun. Maybe people would want to hang out with you more if you weren't such an angry witch. Have fun." And with that, Ben hung up the phone. We all breathed a sigh of relief, and I was the first person to start laughing. Eventually, Stephen joined in, and before we knew it, we were all bursting with laughter at the dinner table, just laughing at how crazy the situation was. She realized that the show was hilarious. Her face must have gone pale. All the blood must have drained from her face, and I realized it was the first time in a long time that she felt embarrassed. Mary had to spend the holidays alone, often calling Ben to see if he would at least come and join her because canceling the reservation she made would be expensive. But every time he denied her. He said that when she came back, they would have to implement some basic rules that should be followed if she still wanted to be married to him. Mary started apologizing and getting frantic, her heart racing. Stephen also mentioned that if Mary still wanted to be in his life, she would have to drastically change her attitude, otherwise, he was ready to leave her life forever. Stephen even said that if Mary disrespected him again, even if it was the slightest sarcastic comment she could make, he would cut her off completely just as she planned to cut him off. As for Ryan, he thought it best to stop being so nice to Mary. It was clearly enabling her toxic behavior. So Mary not only ended up spending miserable time in a beautiful place, but she also risked losing the three most important people in her life. She now has very difficult relationships with all of them, and she has to change to be better. As for me, I messaged her and said that I need some time to see if I will forgive her for all of her injustices. And well, she was apologizing and begging for me to put some sense into the men in her life. I obviously declined, stating that this is the bed she made for herself. And now she has to lie in it. Mary, to this day, is still trying to mend a very broken relationship that she caused. I just hope she has learned her lesson. So, what do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments. If you liked it, send it to a friend. If you're not already subscribed on the channel, don't forget to subscribe. I count on you. See you in the next videos.